Welcome to this segment on drama states. I think you'll find this pretty interesting. There are 4: victim, rescuer, rationalizer, and blamer. We're all going to practice doing something you probably enjoy doing, going to complain. We're going to explore the notion of responsibility, meaning the ability to respond. Going to look at a way to never complain again, and then a deeper look into each of the 4 drama states. That's what we just completed, the visioning segment, creating the future that you want. So I was inspired to do this by a paper that goes back to 1968, a very famous paper by a guy named Steve Karpman, kind of a strange paper actually, but interesting, about a drama triangle. And what he was looking at is the way people get into relationships and assume these roles. The victim, oh, somebody's noisy. The victim, the rescuer, and the persecutor. So I was playing with this and I applied the 4D system and I saw a 4th. So the inquiry is, how do you deal with drama states in your life? They're all debilitating at some level, I'll tell you for sure. Here we are in our organizing system, context shifting worksheet. Here's the really bad news, that you can learn to do everything we've done in this workshop so far extremely well. Those are the dimensions we've worked through previously, and it's all for nothing if you go into drama. And here's kind of a joke, Boy George, if you have to be in a soap opera, try not to get the worst role. You mount the stages 4 ways. The victim, their storyline is, there's nothing I can do. Then they do absolutely nothing. They have given up their capacity to respond entirely. The rescuer, I must do it. It's interesting. The rescuer is driven by the yellow relational needs, and in the moment someone asks them to do it, they're so invested in being liked and valued, they say yes, and then they collapse because they realize it was a terrible mistake to agree to do it. The rationalizer, as the blue would do, tries to take the problem into their head and take emotional discomfort and pretend it doesn't really matter. And this doesn't work because, as you may recall from our analysis of leadership into 2 parts, emotions are whole body events, and the brain's thinking part is a little baby blanket-sized thing called a cerebral cortex, and it doesn't work. You just go around in circles. The blamer's interesting. They say it's your fault when the reality is it's their own. As Freud said, the blamer state is self-anger turned outward. So in workshops, I ask people to complain. I do it one of 2 ways. If I got a team that's pretty healthy, I let them write the complaints on Post-its. I get the second chair to go collect the Post-its and put them on a flip chart, and I read them, actually hand them to me, and I read them and put them on a flip chart. And it's kind of fun because it sort of turbocharges the group. They hear other people's complaints and they get more. For a group I'm a little more worried they're going to go into a dark place, I just have them do a limited number and I'll write them on flip charts. You get far fewer that way. So either way, and the instruction is to write a noun and a verb, as in, my boss is clueless, or the management here has no sense of what's going on, etc., etc. And here's a little fun image about complaining. And I tell people, if you never complain, write the complaints of people you know. So I collect them up, we have fun with them. Then when I get a fair number of them up there, I'd say a team of 25 people, 24 people can generate 20, 30 complaints very easily. They actually sort of like doing it. It's fun for them after a while. And by the way, you want to make this a lighthearted, fun thing. Just don't let this get into a down place. So then I pick up one of the complaints off the flip chart, and show them that while complaining is a signature of victim, we can actually have complaints from all four of the drama states. So like my boss doesn't hear me. So the victim would say, my boss doesn't hear me, there's nothing I can do. The rescuer would say, my boss doesn't hear me, I guess I'm just going to have to work harder and wait for some other opportunity. I'll just keep putting more energy into this job. The rationalizer would say that my boss doesn't hear me and that SOB is too stupid to understand anything anyway. And the blamer would, the rationalizer would say, the rationalizer would say, my boss doesn't hear me and it doesn't matter, I don't care, it doesn't make any difference to me. And the blamer would say, my boss doesn't hear me and he's just a son of a bitch and I can't, he's just a bad person. So we put those up, put them aside, and then I read this quote from Scott Peck that I like. When we avoid responsibility for our behavior, we assign our responsibility to some other entity, but this then means we give away our power to that entity. I tell people if they've ever seen this exercise or if they've read about this in the book, please let this play out for a while. If you know what's the action here, please don't do it. Let others kind of sit in the stress of it. So before we got in here, I put a $20 bill on the projection table or someplace they can see it, hold it up and show it to them. And I say, who's responsible for the $20 bill being on the table? And they will go through what are typically chain of events type things like, you because you put it there, or, the Forest Service that grew the tree that printed the paper, although actually I don't think there's much wood in paper anymore, or the mint that printed it, or the people who paid you the money, blah, 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 keep doing a long time. And then it gets quiet, and I say, when does responsibility begin? And nobody says anything. And then I say, responsibility begins when we take it. Who's responsible for the $20 bill being on the table? Someone might say, me, because I didn't pick it up. And I just keep saying these same two sentences over and over and over, sort of frustrating them. When does responsibility begin? It begins when we take it. And so that they sit there for a while, then sooner or later someone will get it, run up and grab the $20, and usually they'll try and hand it back to me. And I say, no, responsibility has its rewards. You keep the money. If they don't want to keep it, I say, well, take it and go buy some box of donuts or something for the team, or a box of carrots if you're more inclined, whatever. Go get something for the team. Everybody will take that. So then I say, who's responsible for these complaints? And the answer is the person who put it there. And I say, now you've got to decide whether you're going to take responsibility for your complaints or not. The way you take responsibility is you take action or you forget about it. So let's go back to the one I picked up before. My boss doesn't listen to me. The taking responsibility for the complaint would be, I'm going to commit to communicating with my boss until I'm understood. I'm going to work on this and find out how he or she understands things, and I'm going to take my responsibility to be understood rather than leave this sitting there as a complaint. Comments, questions?
No.
Yeah. No.
Okay. By the way, I like this a lot because the thread takes them through the $20 bill and then ties it right back into what they just did. That's the fun of it. Then I tell them that in early workshops, I used to do this exercise, but now I find it just as easy to talk about it and save the time. So imagine we're in a workshop and I decide to ask you for money. And I'd say, walk up to each one of you and say, would you please give me $5? Well, actually, if it's government workers, I say $1. Government workers sometimes don't have $5. And they'll ask me something, I'll say, would you please just give me the $5 or the $1? And most of them will do it. And then I take the money and I put it on a thumbtack on the wall and let it sit there, or tape it up on the wall in some visible place. I just go on with the workshop. And it's not long before somebody says to me, well, what are you going to do with our money? And I said, I haven't decided yet. I don't know. And then I just ignored them and go on. Someone else said, well, we want to know what you're going to do with our money. And I said, I told you, I haven't decided yet. And then it goes on some more. Then someone says, we'd like our money back. And I said, well, if you'd like to get your money back from me, you're going to have to take two actions. The first thing you're going to have to do is tell me why you gave it to me. And they'll typically say, well, we gave it to you because we trust you. And I said, oh, really? I said, so you were all sitting there in the workshop, and this sudden wave of trust blew through the place, and you all got up and handed me money. Is that what happened? And they say, no. We gave it to you because you asked for it. I said, great, that's right. Now you're going to have to take another action to get your money back. Can you think what it is? And they go a little bit, and someone says, we have to ask for it. I said, exactly. What I'm teaching you here is the power of making requests. Now there's a method to make requests that makes it much more efficient. It's the 4D communication process. Authentically appreciate. I use this, for example, if I feel like I want a room upgrade at a Marriott or something, and I don't use this like all the time, but if I want something, I'll say, you know, boy, I love this hotel, and I got to tell you, that smile that you put on your face when I walked up, that was just marvelous. Boy, that made my day. And I'll tell you later, a glad group always helps. Then I'll say shared interest. You know, I love to come to this hotel. It's one of my very favorites, and if you can treat me right, I guarantee you I'll be back here again soon. Now we go into inclusion and collaborate, or keeping an agreement. You know, what I really like about this hotel is the staff. I've never seen people that treat customers as thoughtfully and kindly as you do. And I'm a Marriott Platinum member. I've been around a long time. Then you imagine an appealing outcome. You know, I'm here for about a week, and I've got a lot of work to do. I wonder if you had a spare suite available. That would be something I'd really enjoy. And then, could you do that for me? If you start asking for things, you're going to be amazed at the bounty that comes from it. I can't begin to tell you all the things I've gotten by simply asking for them, from big favors from people I work for at NASA to money or all kinds of things. And this process helps a lot, sets it up. What's happening here, the psychology is we like to give people what they ask for because we assume a return. There's an unconscious assumption of reciprocity. And then glad group always helps. Once you set up glad group, nobody wants to ruin it. That's why telemarketers will say, how you doing today? And you say good. If you do that, it doubles your chance of success. One caveat, never ask for something from someone they can't give you. And so the basic message here is turn your complaints into requests or forget about them. So let's go back to the boss that won't listen to me. You know, I appreciate that you're really busy. And, you know, it would be better for both of us if we could get a clarity of understanding of what you expect from me. And, you know, I'd like to be in good relationship with you. I'd like to work on this as a joint endeavor to see how we can meet your needs and in communication, set something up that's not a burden for you and matches your style. And I can imagine that I'm going to do more work for you better if I can understand what you want. So is that something you'd be willing to discuss with me? Can you see how this would be effective?
Yes.
Yes.
Or rather than, you know, you're a dumb son of a bitch. I don't know if I can even work for you without you changing. You know, making the contrast extreme. Comments, questions? Okay. What's interesting about these, I believe they all start with an emotional dilemma. The emotions are so powerful. Remember, we looked at the fact that our two greatest needs are emotional, appreciation and inclusion. The emotions trump everything in the end. And the victim, I think, starts with a sad group emotion, feeling helpless. And it's uncomfortable, so they go over to their mind and say, it's being done to me, there's nothing I can do. When there's nothing you can do, that storyline, that red storyline that removes your capacity to act, relieves you. Because if there's nothing you can do, how can there be a problem here? Next thing is the victim's got to find clubs. And I usually walk up to someone in the room and form like our two people a little club and say, you know, that guy in the back row, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, right? And they'll all join in. So here's the problem. If you tolerate victims, it spreads because every victim needs clubs. If you want to do something really powerful to stop victimization in your organization, just refuse to join clubs. The club members' validation further reduces the uncomfortable sad feeling, and you bitch, moan, and complain. Benefits? You get to eliminate the need for action. Helplessness is okay, and it feels good when you are in a seance with your club members. The cons: no power, no action, no outcome. I had a client once that said, when I go talk to the center director, every time I go up there, he says, you know, Fred, when you come in here, all I hear is whining. And I said to him, what's your mindset when you go in there? Well, that my work's low priority. I'm probably not going to get what I want. And I said, well, there you go. You got to shift that storyline. Then finally, you've got to constantly be recruiting club members. So, comments or questions?
Go ahead, Beate.
No, it's really clear. Thank you.
Okay, good. Skip?
Yeah, it's very powerful, and to analyze it the first time and to be able to digest it and begin to live by it is very useful.
I'm going to show you a film clip. I love this film clip for several reasons. The first thing you're going to see is the victim blamer dance. And people who are chronic blamers love to hire victims because they'll play this game with them. And you get a kick out of this guy at work. And then the second piece, a little more complicated. It's about this guy who gets tricked into marrying this rich guy's daughter and then jumping into a volcano with her so that there's this iron ore or something, some kind of special ore would get mined. And what I really like about the second clip is that it shows the life-habituated victim, and she keeps trying to rescue him out of it, and he keeps going back to victim. So let's watch this fun movie.
How are you doing, Joe? Well, I'm not feeling very good, Mr. Waturi. So what else is new? You never feel good. Yeah. Well, that's the problem. Yeah. Anyway, I have a doctor's appointment today.
Another doctor's appointment?
Yeah.
Listen, Joe, what's the Steve tell me about the catalogs?
I only got 12.
How did you let us get down to 12?
I told you.
When?
3 weeks ago, and then 2 weeks ago.
Did you tell me last week?
No.
Why not?
I don't know. I thought you knew.
Not good enough, Joe. Not nearly good enough. I put you in charge of the entire advertising library.
You mean this room.
I give you carte blanche how to deal with the materials in here.
You put the orders in the printer, Mr. Waturi, not me. That's how you wanted it.
You are not competent to put the orders into the printer. That's a very technical job.
Explain it.
I was going to do better than that, Joe. I was going to make you assistant manager. I want to make you assistant manager, but you're not flexible. You're inflexible.
I don't feel inflexible.
You're inflexible. Totally. And what's this about a doctor's appointment? You're always going to the doctor.
I don't feel good.
So what? You think I feel good? Nobody feels good. After childhood, it's a fact of life. I feel rotten. So what? I don't let it bother me. I don't let it interfere with my job.
What do you want from me, Mr. Waturi?
You're like a child. And what's this lamp for? Is there not enough light in here for you?
The fluorescents affect me. They make me feel blotchy, puffy. I thought this light would.
Get rid of the light. This is not your bedroom, Joe. This is an office. Maybe if you start treating this like a job instead of some kind of a welfare hospital, you'll shape up. And Joe, I want those catalogs.
Then please order them.
Watch yourself, Joe. Think about what I just said. You've got to get yourself into a flexible frame, or else you are no place. And take that light off the desk.
I will.
Do it now.
Another piece of that I didn't mention, but it's on the slide that I really like. I think there's a very easy way to tell if you're in drama. If you feel lousy, then you're almost surely in a drama state. If you feel good, you're almost surely not. Other comments? We proceed? Let's go to the island.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Yeah.
Why aren't you dead?
Why aren't you dead?
I don't know.
The volcano!
It blew us out. We jumped in and it blew us out. Well, that's it. At least it's a miracle. There goes Maconi Wu.
God, we really lucked out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but...
But what?
Well, I hate to bring it up, but we're a million miles from no place. We're gonna drown.
No, we're not. We're gonna be all right. I don't know how, but we're gonna be all right. See?
How did you do that?
Isn't this romantic? Who gets a honeymoon like this?
Yeah. Yeah. But
What's the matter?
I still have a problem.
What?
I have a brain cloud.
Brain cloud. What is a brain cloud?
Well, it's... maybe I should get a second opinion.
You didn't get a second opinion about something called a brain cloud?
All right. I just felt
I mean, what are you, a hypochondriac?
I was. Oh, not now.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with you.
Dr. Ellison said I was only going to...
So some quack told you what you... Dr. Ellison?
Yeah.
That's my father's doctor.
Is?
Dr. Ellison doesn't have any other patients. My father owns Dr. Ellison.
But why would he...
He set you up.
Who?
My father.
You mean he
Yeah.
set me up?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I don't have a brain cloud.
Brain cloud, a brain cloud. You think they could think of something better than a brain cloud?
My whole life, I've been a victim. I've been a dupe, a pawn. My throat is closing up.
Oh, no, see, Joe. Your whole life is ahead of you.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true.
I mean, that's good news.
Well, yeah, I suppose it is.
I mean, it's great.
Yeah, that's good. I'm relieved. That's great. I'm saved. But still.
Now, well, what is it now?
We're on a raft. There's no land in sight. I don't know.
It's always going to be something with you, isn't it, Joe?
It's always going to be something with you, isn't it, Joe? I love it. Okay. Good
I
stuff.
have a question. There are people who can only be kind of happy when they are in the victim role. How should we deal with that?
Psychotherapy.
Okay.
It's a place of helplessness. I don't actually think there are happy victims myself. I don't.
But they are kind of less happier when they are not victims.
I don't know anyone like that, Beata.
Yeah?
No, I don't.
I think I know people like that.
Well, fun. But my daughter tends to go victim, and when she does, when complaining, usually complainers are miserable. When
Yeah,
she's in that
that's
place, she's miserable, and she dedicates herself to making everyone in her vicinity miserable. Skip, what do you think about this?
Oh, I do know that it's basically it's a condition of choice, and that's what this analysis is so valuable about, is that it's a choice to get into it, and there can be a choice to get out of it, to give up your complaint, to either do something about it or drop it. So it's extremely powerful, and the fact that some people become habituated to it is true, but it gives any team that's trying to get better the ability to grasp it and influence it. I love this, what you can name, you can influence. When you can properly identify this, you can influence yourself and you can influence it in others. That doesn't mean you can influence it in another family member. I think there's a better chance of influencing it in your team.
See, I think the predominant emotion here is sadness. I don't think it's glad group here. I don't know how, I have a hard time seeing how glad could drive you into victim. Now, let me make a distinction here. I'll talk about this later. I think we all engage in light recreational complaining, but that's not victim. You know, I complain about the politics in the U.S. I'm not in a victim state. I'm not helpless. It's just like I say, it's a shame. It's so stupid. It's a good country, but I don't know anyone in my experience happy in this place. And
The only time they get to be happy is when they club up and get happy together.
Yeah, there's a temporary happiness, a little bit of a high.
They're a little high for that, that community thing, but then they all have to return to their sadness, their isolation.
Okay, anything else? Okay. So I think the question is, do I want more of this? And most people that I know in it don't. And the thing you got to do is slow down, notice and name your feelings, and then notice and name, color your power-robbing storylines. I had a classic case of a very senior executive and wonderful woman I worked with early on in this work. And she was complaining one day about the fact that the New York office imposed all these requirements for excess paperwork on her. And I said, it's hopeless. I can't get them to stop. Nothing we can do about it. And I said, why don't we put a letter together? I'll draft it up, and you can sign it with a 4-dimensional request. And it would go something like this. You know, I appreciate the fact that you need certain information to run the larger company. And I would like to work with you to, I think it's obvious to you what dimensions I'm in now, isn't it? Completely obvious?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I just went yellow. I'd like to work with you to develop a process that would serve us all better. In blue, my vision is that we could do this so much more efficiently that there'd be more profit going down to the bottom line, which benefits all of you and I and the people in this conversation, because we're all sharers in the firm's profit. You make the request. If I put a small team together, could they come to New York and work with your people to write a new process to do this better? So I wrote the letter, and she and I had breakfast downtown Boulder, and I said, okay, it's time to sign the letter and send it on. And she read it and said, it's a really good letter, but they'll never change. And I said, do you realize what you just did? You went back into victim again. You do it all the time. She went, oh, my God. She signed the letter, and they came back and said, of course, we'll be glad to do this and save the company a whole lot of money. So here's my comment before light recreational complaining. I might call Skip once in a while and say, you know, I just got to rant a bit about what somebody did here. But that's gone, you know. Okay?
Yes.
The hero rescuer, by the way, I talked about the rescuer, but the hero is a variant on it where they've got to do work they should not be doing because it makes them feel, you know, good about themselves. And the rescuer is more like making feel good about other people. And I guess maybe the hero has an element of other people too. So I walked into a very senior executive's office in the industry a couple of years ago, and she's sitting there tediously editing a poorly written letter someone sent for her to sign. And I said, frankly, I'd never do that. I'd go tell them, go get someone else to peer review this letter. You make too much money to sit there and be an editor of a letter. But you know, you shouldn't be using your time for that. Anyway, so the two are very close, and I think they come out of this love group, this yearning for approval. And as I said before, in the moment something comes along that they shouldn't do, they want to do it, and so they agree to do it, and then they're immediately sorry they agreed to do it. They become exhausted. I should not have done it. After they sit in rescuer for a while, they start to feel used, like it's not their fault this happened, and they blame the other person. Benefits, you get to feel needed. Most business organizations have plenty of blamers to help, and you don't have to ever say no. The cost, chronic overwork, stress, inappropriate relationship, and you feel used by others. Okay?
Yeah, that's really so true.
Do I want more of this? Well, since I think the syndrome is that you are saying yes in the moment, and the way this works is, in fact, I worked several years with a habituated rescuer. She helped me understand it because I don't think I tend to do this a lot. She said she's always overworked because in that moment she wants to do it, and after they're gone is when she realizes after the phone call's over it was a mistake. So I say buy a little time. No matter what you do, say, you know, let me think about this a bit. I'll get back to you soon. Then you say no four-dimensionally. I talked about Stephen Covey. I read one of his books. It might have been 7 Habits, and he said that you know, when the boss asks you to do something that you don't have time to do, you go and open a blackboard on your wall or get a piece of paper out and say, these are the things you told me to do. Now, which ones can I stop doing so I can do this one? I don't think he's ever worked in a business I've ever worked in, because no place that I worked that would ever work, because that's setting up a power struggle. And remember the 2 rules about power struggles? Rule number 1, never power struggle.
Yeah.
Rule number 2,
don't power struggle, particularly if you don't have the power.
Yeah. So I've used this process to help a whole bunch of people get what they wanted in these kind of situations. So, you know, it's a standard 4D process. I've done this several times now, but I can think of one. I had a case of a client where very senior executive, and her boss would not let her have an administrative person, secretary, particularly to do things like travel arrangements. And she went up and said, I need this help. It's a waste of my time to do this. And his response was, well, you know, I never had that help, so you can do it by yourself too. She said, what to do? And I said, well, what you do is you make a 4-dimensional request. You appreciate the person in the situation. Say, you know, I really appreciate where you're coming from because you didn't have this help. And I'm thinking, you know, would it be possible to imagine it could be in both of our interests to get someone else to do this work? Because I can do things like monitor the budgets on my projects much more closely, which is something you'd like me to do, and use my time more efficiently. And, you know, I'm completely dedicated to working with you in the most harmonious possible way. And I want to live in my own integrity in terms of delivering what I promised you I'm going to give you when I said it in the way I said. And so the reality is that if I've got to do all this administrative work, I can't really do my job. And I've got a colleague with a small company who does this kind of work, and I've got plenty of funding for it. And if you let me go and put out a little RFP, get a support contract, so I think what you were concerned about is using a civil service slot for this, and we can avoid that. So would you be willing to let me go investigate this path? Doesn't it seem like that would almost surely work?
Made it easy for the other person.
Yep. Okay?
Yeah.
The rationalizer. I know this one well. The rationalizer comes out of fear group, anxiety. You get an uncomfortable feeling, you don't like to feel it, and so you say it doesn't really matter. And then you get temporary relief, the anxiety returns. What you're trying to do here is to repress uncomfortable emotions with thoughts, and you can't do it. So I used to have a contract with an aerospace company to do like 6 workshops a year. One of my biggest workshop customers. And they counted smiley sheet scores, which I think is completely the wrong way to measure any effectiveness. Now we would use our TDAs. We didn't have those then, so they counted smiley sheet results, which just means the ratings people put on the back of the workshops. We still get those, but it's more of a little fun thing for Frank and I to talk about than anything else. We don't even normally pass these on to our customers. And there was a guy that I was cross-country skiing with at the time who was a very eccentric guy. I liked the guy, but he had a lot of difficulties in the organization. So I went to the HR head that was my customer and said, could I put Ralph in one of my classes? And because I was doing these every month or so. He said, no. He said, Ralph's not high enough in the management to get into one of these. And I said, well, you know, he's got a lot of problems relating to people in the company, but he's a good technical guy. And, you know, there's always 2 or 3 empty seats because you've got hardware in test and many things. And so it's inevitable that someone can't make it that planned to make it. So he wouldn't actually take a slot. And so HR guy said, well, sure, I can do that for you, sure. So Ralph comes to the class, doesn't say very much. Seems pleasant enough. I'm just thinking he's going to having a beneficial experience. And the thing ends, and I've got the smiley sheets for the 23 people or something, and I'm looking at them, and it's 8, 10, 9, 8, 7, 8, 9. Then I come along, one's 2. I said, I never got a 2. Who could this be? It's Ralph. So I get in the car, and I'm driving home, and I feel this uncomfortable feeling in my chest, this anxiety, smashing anxiety. And I said, wow, what's that coming from? And I'm listening to myself, said, oh, it's discomfort over that 2 that Ralph gave. Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, look, there's 23 people. I mean, if you average 23 people, he can't change our overall score very much. It doesn't matter to me what he did. I don't care. It doesn't hurt anything. It's fine. So I drive down the road. About 2 minutes later, comes back. I do the same thing. Comes back. I do the same thing. Cannot get rid of it more than 2 minutes at a time. So I get home and I called the HR guy and I said, look, I'd like to talk to you about Ralph's score for the workshop. He said, oh, that 2? He said, I saw that and threw it in the trash. Don't worry about a thing. So that's how it works. I think the best thing you can do if you're stuck in this place is go find a friend or a coach or someone who you can talk through the whole thing. I was lucky in that case. The benefits, you get to repress uncomfortable feelings. It feels intellectually satisfying and seems better than the alternative, which is to sit in the mess. The cost, the relief is temporary. Energy stuck up in your head. It's distracting and exhausting. Another cubby thing I like. Feelings that are buried alive stay alive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
I would say, would you agree it's a kind of elephant in the room with your own?
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's your own elephant in the room, your own private elephant in the room. Good.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly. Okay. So the angry one. This is the one that I have difficulty with. This is from Aristotle. Look at this. Anyone can become angry. That is easy. But to become angry with the right person to the right degree at the right time for the right purpose and in the right way, that is not easy. This is a fascinating bit of research. I read this book a long time ago. It's a medical doctor who got interested in the effects of anger on health. And he had his classmates when he was in medical school take a test that he had designed on hostility. And he followed them through the rest of their lives, what happened. And he said those with high scores on a test of hostility were 7 times as likely to have died by the age of 50. And he said being prone to anger was a greater source of mortality than smoking, plus high blood pressure, plus high cholesterol. Anger kills. So my storyline when I start to get angry, and the thing that will make me nuts is if I'm driving down the road and someone pulls in front of me in a way. I live near a road we drive 70 miles an hour on all the time. It's not the Autobahn, but it's still fast. And someone pulls in front of me in a way that if he has some reason his car stalls crossing in front of me, I can't stop in time. That's impossible. I'm going to have a horrible accident. That's the kind of thing that makes me mad. So when that occurs, I just say, is this the hill you want to die on? And I just pass it on. Comments, questions?
It's deadly. Yeah.
It's deadly.
It's deadly to relationships in real time, too.
Yeah. The blamer. Scared group, fear of being blamed. This is really interesting. It can be very uncomfortable for people to feel fear. And so the storyline they run, it's your fault. And what they use is the mad group, a cover-up emotion, to repress it. I need to punish you. Benefits, you get to repress your fear. You feel temporarily powerful. You enjoy energy from the adrenaline rush, the cost. When the fear returns, you must recycle over and over. It makes massive emotional side bank account withdrawals, and it's deadly. Here's what's interesting about this. Your assignment of blame is both clear and wrong. So a lot of my colleagues think that the primary addiction in America is adrenaline, worse than any other drug. As I mentioned earlier, Freud said blamer is self-anger directed outward. So to experience and escape, what I want you to do is first feel the blamer state. So I want you to put your hands in the blamer configuration, one finger pointed out, and I want you to speak to someone on this telephone call. It's your fault. Loudly. It's your fault. Go ahead. It's your fault, and shake your finger towards your microphone. It's your fault.
It's your fault.
It's your fault.
Beate,
it's your fault.
It's your fault.
It's your fault.
No, it's yours.
Skip, it's your fault.
No, it's yours.
No, it's yours, Beate.
It's your fault.
Okay. Now, did everybody get a little energy lift out of that? Could you feel the adrenaline?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So the remedy is curiosity. So put your hands in the curiosity configuration, all fingers together. Make the curiosity sound, I wonder what my role was in creating this mess. I wonder what my role was in creating this mess. Now,
I wonder what my role was in creating this mess.
Skip.
Oh, yeah, I touch myself with the fingers, and I wonder what my role was in creating this mess.
Yeah. Okay. So, as I said before, these are emotionally based things and therefore whole body. So sometimes you need to do a whole body exercise to get out of this. So I'm going to tell a story, and what I would do in a workshop is I'll stand in front of the screen and let the people in the workshop with their fingers direct me to one side or the other. It depends on what I'm doing. So why don't you guys just speak up and say either blaming or wondering, because we can't see each other.
Okay.
I can't do this by myself. I need your help, okay? Okay, so some years ago back at NASA, my boss hired a new guy to head up the budget division. And it didn't take me but about 5 minutes to realize what an idiot this man was.
Blame
I
him.
don't, oh, I don't even know how he got out of bed and got his car to work in the morning. This guy was stupid beyond belief.
Blaming.
And then one day I started to think about this and said, I didn't like him the first time I saw him before he said a word. This has something to do with me and my background.
Wondering.
Maybe he reminds me of a bad time in my family with my brother or something. I don't. Maybe that's the case.
Wondering.
But when someone's an idiot at this level, there's not a damn thing you can do about it. I mean, when someone's this stupid and this arrogant and this unself-aware, it's just totally impossible to imagine I had anything to do with this at all.
Blaming.
Blaming.
Okay, so you can see how it goes. This really works. When I started this work in 1994, I really had, I think, many more issues around this blamer state. And so I would get someone to either come over to the house and walk me through this or do it on the phone or something. Then after a little while, I did it in my head. And then after a little while, I just stopped doing it. So Skip and I both studied with these people with what's called somatic psychology. And that's body psychology. That's where I got this thing from talking to them about this. And it works. So if you have a big problem around blamer, you might want to ask your coach about helping you do this. So go ahead, and I think you guys want to skip the exercise, or you want to do it?
Skip.
Okay.
Okay.
So the workshop participants do this. And what I like to do is I go through the room and I say, now, who would like to talk to victim? And I'll tell you the truth, by now in the workshop, people have gotten pretty comfortable. And believe it or not, they will actually have very little difficulty speaking to these things. And they'll say, well, this, that, and the other. Who wants to talk to rescuer? And someone will raise their hands. Oh, I do it all the time, and so forth. So powerful stuff. So your check boxes, pay attention to how you create drama in your work and life. Drama depletes or misdirects your energy. You cannot have it. Practice the 4D process to say no. And direct your energy fully responsibly, meaning you're able to respond. And that completes this segment. And next up is roles, accountability, and authority. So thank you both. Any parting comments? Was this a useful session for you?
Yes, it was. If it would be possible to really follow all that all the time, life would really be very, very easy.
Skip?
Yes, and it's almost embarrassing how useful it is, yes.
I enjoyed it myself, too. So I'm going to stop recording now.